I've got to imagine it's pretty hard. Also, we've kind of you got into a second point, then we went backwards a little bit, and I might misstate that second point, so correct me if I'm wrong. But on the whether it's developer or the architect or the person designing this world having to understand the movements of the person and what they're going to want to do, it sounds easy if we're making a game where there's limited options for what the user could do. But if you start speaking about like VR chat or something like that, where the potential movements that human could do is very wide. How do you plan around that? Is it going to be just case by case? We need to figure out what's in this world and develop around it, or do you have to plan for what you don't even know that user is going to try to do because they could try anything in reality?
Yeah, that was exactly my second point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the answer is something like this. As architects, we take the human body and the activities that we use our body for as a given. Yes. Obviously, we're architects. We can't change any of that. And the kind of human activities that architecture is hosting have been developed over many, many years of evolution. So although some are trying, we can't really interfere that much with that. However, when we talk about the problem of architecture in virtual space, none of that holds true anymore. So my particular approach is to say architects should not design virtual environments after some kind of gameplay has already been decided, after the VR developer has already figured out what kind of body of locomotion. The virtual architect should be there in those first conceptual meetings, and everything should be designed as a whole.
So a good example would probably be from your, what I'll call, thesis on the Jeff level from the Kenpai podcast, where it seems like that level, like we knew what we have in Jeff, but it wasn't, we have Jeff, let's build around him. It seems like it was more conceptual right from the start. This is an experiment that we know how it plays out. How do we now incorporate Jeff to make this all happen? That's at least what I was getting from when you were speaking about that.
So that chapter was, I actually liked that chapter even more than the end with the mirroring and stuff. Because the psychological dimension of Jeff was just incredible for me. So there's this gameplay idea, but that could not be realized without the right environment, right? You could not get the same feeling if you were in a different kind of environment with Jeff. So you can see how you would need the environment designer working right next to the game designer to test these things and to come up with hypotheses. And there would be much, and they're basically developing the concept and testing the concept hand in hand. Because if you've read the interviews from the Half-Life designers, you'll see that, of course, they spend years prototyping and testing things. So it's not like someone came out with the idea, it was the Jeff idea was perfect, and then they got the environment designer to just figure out the thing. It had to go hand in hand. So I'm seeing a much closer interdisciplinary approach to these things than what we're seeing right now with physical architecture.
Yeah, that level was a beautiful level because from start to finish, you buy in. There's times in games like traditional games or even VR games where I've killed a boss or killed an enemy and it's meaningless. It is meaningless. I'm just killing to kill in that game, and that sounds weird, but it's true. But I killed Jeff on my playthrough, and I did hear that you didn't have to. And I felt bad, actually. Even though this thing was trying to murder me, like I was stuck in very small quarters with designs that I always felt he was right there with me and perpetual danger, even if he wasn't. And by the end of it, I actually felt a connection to him, one way or another. Even though he wanted to murder me, maybe I had some Stockholm syndrome. I kind of wish I let him live. I can't understand why, but I do wish I let Jeff live. I know you don't play much VR games though. Half-Life Alyx was, at the time when podcast I heard on you, that was the only game you had finished in VR.
Yes, that's still the case. I start a lot of games. I'm not going to name any. I'm obviously interested in testing things. Yeah, I'm missing the psychological complexity of Jeff. And that's not to say that all games need to have that. They do not. Absolutely not. It's just a personal statement that for me and for the kind of stuff that get me going, I need a bit more of that. And of course, the vast majority of players disagree with me because they're very happy with this kind of other stuff. But yeah.
I think any enthusiast is probably going to agree with you more than someone coming in new, but that's because they had a taste of what that was. Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the daily clips, or catch the debates and fireside chats live on the main channel down in the video description. See you next time, Space Cowboys.